Hey everybody, Tribal Talk is back. Brooks and Will are back. Are you excited for part two, Will?
I'm so excited. This is the first not band thing I've done in 4 days, and I love band. So I don't mind doing that every day, all day. I'm just really tired in general as a person. So this is a nice brain break to just talk about Survivor.
Yeah. And so this is if you're new to this channel, this is part two of our season rankings. So if you haven't seen part one yet, what are you doing watching this?
Go
Um,
away.
I'll put a link in the description where you can watch part one, where we do 34 through 21. And this video is going to be our top 20. And like I said, I'll go ahead and say it again. Like I said in the first video, everybody has their own opinion. None of us are wrong.
Some of us are.
He said it, not me. And spoilers aplenty for all these seasons. So if there's like a season you haven't seen that you don't want spoiled, that's probably on this list, you've been warned. I don't want to have someone write me, you spoiled this for me.
Yeah. Once
You've
again,
been warned.
we'll leave the list of the seasons we're going to talk about in the description down below. So check that out. And then if you see a season there you haven't watched that you intend on watching and you don't want to be spoiled for it, then tread carefully through this video.
Yeah, so just so we're clear, spoilers ahead. So let's get right into it, Will, with our number 20. So this was one I was not as kind to. So why don't you talk about why you liked it?
Okay, so this season was number 15 on my list. So I don't love it. It's upper middle tier for me, so I consider it a decently average, like a slightly above average season. This is the only season that has ever incorporated Redemption Island that I've even remotely been a fan of. We obviously talked about the other two seasons that involved Redemption Island in our last episode, Sips Tea. This season is Blood versus Water, the first one. So actual blood versus water, that season. So number 20, Blood versus Water, aka Prob shouldn't have used Redemption Island. I am a fan of the function that Blood versus Water holds in this season, a little bit more than in its previous two incarnations, however long Redemption Island lasted. I've tried to block it out of my mind.
Too long.
Yeah. I prefer this reincarnation. Not that it's different, just because the relation between players is different, obviously. I'm also a huge fan of the Blood versus Water casting gimmick. I know that Brooks is not, but I am a fan. I think it makes for really good storylines. I think it makes for really interesting gameplay. I think this season suffers from being very poorly edited, in the sense that you kind of know from the get-go that Tyson is going to win. Like, you can just tell 3 or 4 episodes in that that's the edit that's happening, is that Tyson is going to win. It doesn't seem like anything can go wrong for him. I think it also suffers from the late merge being really irritating to watch, kind of boring to watch, and personally was ready to pull hair out because I was just so irritated with the way that things were going. But I think there are also some really shining moments in this season. Rupert not even getting to play the game, that's an interesting thing that happened. We obviously have the rock draw, in which Katie goes home. You have Sierra voting out her mom, which gets harped on and on and on and on and on and on and on about up until now. I think it's the first time that it's definitely the first time that people have drawn rocks since Marquesas, and that's obviously interesting. I just think there are so many, not so many, but there are enough high points. One of my favorites being that Laura Moret was back on TV. I don't know. I'm an average fan of this season. Brooks, how about you? You disagree.
Well, this was my number 25.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's only
Just
10
not
below
that,
where I put it.
it's not that great either, really, though. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this season's really overrated, Will.
I mean, you're correct. It is overrated. Doesn't make it bad, though.
Like, some people have this in their top 10. Some people have it in their top 5.
You know
And
how I was saying that sometimes some people are wrong?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
He said it, not me.
You're allowed to love it. You just can't be under the delusion that it's one of the 5 best seasons of Survivor ever.
I just really scratch my head when people say that because I'm like, did we watch the same season? Okay, well, first off, when I saw the cast, when it was announced, I was like, this is gonna tank because I could not really come up with, other than, as you said, Laura Moret, I really couldn't come up with a reason why the other 9 were brought back other than they wanted to see their loved ones. But I would rather just have a season of just the loved ones.
Yeah.
I don't really care for the people playing with
No.
their loved ones. I think that takes a lot of time away from the game. I think it no longer becomes an individual game. So that's sort of why I take issue with it. Don't like Redemption Island. Some people say it works here. I think it works in the pre-merge, not so much the post-merge. And
keeps
it
Laura
doesn't
Moret
really
in the game.
But the thing is, it's not even that the twist works. It's the drama that happens at Redemption Island. And that in and of itself doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Redemption Island. That's the blood versus water coming in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted drama and they got drama, but
they got to quit out of it too.
Yeah, like Colton should not have been there. I'm sorry. He quit. So yeah, twice. And Kat should not have been there. They just wanted Hayden. They should have just had Hayden. Rupert, this was not the format for Rupert. This was not the format for Candace. And I love Candace, but this was not the format for her. Some people like Monica, but I find her very boring, so I'm not sure. I'm not big on the neat ladies, Will. I'm sorry. But I'm not a big Monica. I'm not a big Culpepper person in general. Let's see who else. Tyson. I don't agree that we knew he was going to win from the get-go. I think you knew who he was going to win at the merge.
Gotcha. That might have just been my negativity seeping into the season.
Once you get rid of Aris and Tina, yeah. I'm like, okay, Tyson's gonna win because he's sort of.
I was hopeful with Sierra.
Yeah, and I mean I like Aris and Tina, but again, not a good format for them. So 9 out of 10 of the people of the returning players I didn't think needed to be in this type of format. So that hurts the season. I liked most of the loved ones.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 of the loved ones were great.
But again, I think they were sort of at a disadvantage because they're playing with the ones who've already done it. So I think it would have been a better format. If it was just loved ones of past players. You know, that whole idea of like, well, you played the game. Let's see if I can do it better, you know? And I think there's a lot of people. I think I once read like a cooler concept of this was like loved ones of past winners.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people wanted to see like Kim's sister.
Yeah.
One of like Sandra's husband, uh, Yule's wife, like just different people that um, could play. I actually like that idea better than this. So just all that going on, just it's very overrated. I don't find most of there's a couple of good tribal councils, but I don't find most of them that groundbreaking.
Yeah.
So I think it's overrated, Will.
That's okay. It can be overrated. That's all right. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean I rewatched it too because I was like, maybe there's something I missed, but no, I got the same thing I got out of it the first time. So
Anger and frustration.
yeah, especially in the pre-merge. I think that pre-merge is ridiculous. I mean, first off, sending two people to Redemption Island in the first minute of the game,
and both of them being returning players,
just plain cruel. And it costs you probably two of the more interesting returning players. So
even their personal dynamic because they hated each other.
yeah, so I mean, I would have much rather seen Rupert and Candace in the game than out of it.
Yeah.
So I think I think they didn't do due diligence with that. So, any other thoughts on Blood versus Water Wheel?
Negative.
We weren't very positive on that, even though it's our number 20.
I mean, it's number 20 out of 34. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even the top half. So
yeah, I just think it's overrated. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there's so many things that just make me angry with this. Starting in the first minute, I get angry. So
true.
Something's wrong with that. You ready to move on to number 19?
Let's do it. I think it's really funny. The season is.
So number 19, another one that I think there's some debate over where this season lies when you're ranking these. Again, some people have it in their top 10. Some people have it lower than we have it. So I'm talking about season 19, Samoa, which is in the 19th spot. Basically, the Russell Hand show. There's not much to say other than that. Russell gets over. He has the most he has a record of the most confessionals of any contestant ever in this season, with 108.
Good.
And the winner of this season has 15 confessionals. So I think that's why opinion has sort of soured on this a little bit, because we're like, we really didn't get a reason why Natalie won, other than people just didn't like Russell. And then I think it gets worse once you rewatch, because you know it's going to happen, you know. So I think that's why. I mean, Russell is probably one of, if not the most notorious villain the show's ever had. So that's definitely entertaining to watch. And I think it's entertaining to watch him get to the end and make quick work out of those Kaôh people. But
and then to fail miserably.
It just feels so unsatisfying, I think, when and I'm not one of those people that's out angry that like Russell lost, like Russell was robbed. Like, I'm not one of those people, but I can only go off of what I see, you know? And so I'm just like, why did he lose?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had it, where did I have it? I had it at 23. So,
yeah.
Where did you have it, Will?
I had it at number 16. I'm okay with Samoa. I don't love it. Again, it's like, it's not even upper. It's like middle of my middle tier. I don't know. I really like Natalie, not necessarily as this all-star Survivor player, but just like as a character. We obviously don't see a lot of her in terms of confessionals, but I think that at least from what I remember, like in rewatches and rewatch. It's not like I've watched it more than 2 times, but upon a rewatch, I think you get a lot of when you know that she wins. I think you get a better sense of how Russell is making all of these flashy moves, but when he needs things finessed, Natalie is the person who's doing it socially, just because Russell didn't really know how to talk to people, which I think is why Natalie wins ultimately. But I mean, it is the Russell Hantz show, and as someone who is not necessarily the biggest Russell Hantz fan, it's hard to favor Samoa. But I mean, if you're going off of like singular individual player making big moves, then I mean, it's a pretty great season because Russell makes some really big moves, but Russell is the only person making moves.
Yeah, I think depending, a lot of it depends on your opinion on Russell.
Mm-hmm.
If you really don't like him, you probably don't like this season.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a shame that we really don't get to know really most of the rest of the cast.
No.
Like, especially those Galoo people.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think we. Yeah, they hardly ever. They only went to tribal council once in the pre-merge, and then the post-merge is just the Russell show, and so we really don't. That's why I was sort of surprised Laura Moret even came back, because I didn't think anybody was going to remember her. So, I mean, other than maybe Shambo, do we really remember any of those Galoo people?
I don't know. We've had Laura and Monica now. I'm waiting for a Shambo return and a Brett return. I mean, we know Brett.
Well, Brett was invisible for most of the time up until the end.
So was Natalie, though.
And I was sort of scratching my head why Monica came back. So I don't know, but I know I'm found. I mean, it's a middle tier season.
It's an all right season. You can watch it.
I know I'm very negative on it, but it really is it really does have some of the best moments because of Russell.
Yeah.
But it is a little frustrating, I think, with one of the most confusing endings for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Natalie really was not given a story, and that's not her fault.
No, not at all. That's the editor's fault.
Yeah, I don't blame her at all. But your winner has to have some sort of story, and we hardly saw her. So
we had a really great Natalie story at Final Tribal. Like, Natalie's journey sounded great. I just wish they would have put it on television prior to the finale.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on Samoa? Well,
I mean, I would say if you're just in the business of watching those top 5 moments on YouTube, Samoa is a good one to check out.
Yeah, especially, I think the pre-merge, not the pre-merge, the post-merge in Samoa is really good.
Yeah.
Even if it's only about one character. So, all right. You ready to move on to our number 18?
Let's do it. So, this is a season that I have fairly low on my personal list. I'm not a huge fan of this season just because I think this is an all-returning player season. And I think if you compare our all-returning players seasons, this one's cast was possibly the most loaded, but it was probably also one of the more disappointing. For me, at least, this season was more disappointing in terms of like having a loaded cast that just didn't really perform as well. Like, I prefer Game Changers over this season on like my personal list. Obviously, on our joint list, that's not the case. I think You probably had it moderately high, didn't you?
It was my 16.
Okay, and it was my 22. And this season is Survivor All Stars. This again, people are very mixed on this season. I think a lot of I think it kind of suffers similar Samoa pangs in terms of, especially post merge, is very Rob leaning, only to have Amber win at the end. Amber definitely was given a better editing treatment than Natalie was. But I think that, so many of the big names of this cast go home in the pre-merge. So many of them, like Rudy, Tina, Ethan, Colby, Jerry, Richard Hatch, Sue, like they all leave pre-merge. Like pre-merge. And then you get to the post-merge, and it's just so negative. Like the whole vibe of the post-merge is just so icky. It's really hard to get through. I don't know. You don't get the kind of gameplay out of Survivor All-Stars that you would expect. Obviously, it's old school Survivor, and so gameplay is different. But I like even on rewatches, it's just like these people already know how to play the game, but they were still just kind of playing the same game. You know what I mean? Like All Stars should have been where Survivor took a turn, and it just didn't. Like it did kind of. I think Rob probably played the game in a way that it hadn't been played before, but everyone also responded fairly negatively to that. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this season, but it's not terrible. Like it's definitely a middle tier season. What do you think? I'm just butchering All Stars right now.
Yeah, I know it makes it seem like we don't like it, but
Okay.
I mean, it's middle tier.
Yeah, I'm trying to be critical.
Right. Yeah, we're sort of giving, we're leading up to, the higher ranked seasons. So we're sort of saying why this one isn't higher, But yeah, like you said, really disappointing. I mean, when this cast was announced, I wasn't watching the show, but I can imagine when this cast was announced, everyone was super excited because it's basically 18 of the biggest characters and strategists from the first 7 seasons.
Yeah.
And well, most of them. But I think first off, I didn't like the sort of ganging up on the winners in the pre-merge.
Yeah.
I think that we lose a lot of. We lose Tina and Hatch. So, and to me, Ethan isn't that big of like a character, but Tina and Hatch definitely losing them in the pre-merge, I think, is really unfortunate because they really are legends. And then we lose big characters and fan favorites like Rob Sesternino and Colby.
I completely forgot Rob was in All Stars.
Yeah, I think Rob did too. He was I think he was 4th. Yeah, he was 4th. It gets bogged down a little by the 2 quits.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, I understand Jenna.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I even kind of understand Sue, but like he was out of the game at that point, and so.
Yeah, and I've heard. I read like a AMA on Reddit with Lex Vandenberg, where he said that later that night, the production crew came into their camp and asked if everyone was okay with Sue coming back. So apparently she changed her mind. But everyone said no. So
yeah, no, you don't get to quit and then come back. That's not how it works.
So that sort of changed my perspective on Sue. So I don't feel as bad. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I think maybe she was just ready to leave and then instantly regretted it after it happened. You know how sometimes people will do something and then instantly regret it. But you know, just all that unfortunate happenings in the pre-merge, but I also think there's a lot of memorable moments in the pre-merge. And like I said, this is a cast of people that we loved. So even if they're not doing the most exciting things on the planet, it's still people we love to watch. Like they're still fun to watch, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Like Big Tom is such a big character, even though I mean, he doesn't, he sort of accepts his fate this season, but he's
Yeah.
still fun to watch, you
Right.
know. So,
Yeah.
And you know, some of the most emotional fights and all that happened in the merge with between Lex and Rob and Kathy and Sheehan.
Hmm.
So I mean I like all that. It was sort of like it really, you're like, okay, Survivor really is a reality show,
Yeah.
you know, so because we were getting like Big Brother level type fights, you know.
Right.
So that was when I think the show started to change a little bit. I think All Stars, it started becoming less about the
Surviving.
survival
Yeah.
aspect and more about the production of the show, you know.
Yeah.
So I think All Stars is important in that respect.
Yeah.
Amber, again, sort of like Natalie, not a winner I necessarily understand why she won, other than they didn't want Rob to win.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but you know, she won, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It
They
went to
shared
the
the money
same
anyway. Yeah.
household.
It doesn't
Yeah, it
matter.
went to the same. It went down the same honey pot, but I still question why Rob didn't win that season. I mean, who
It's all
was
right. They
Big
brought
Tom?
him back so many times. He eventually won anyway.
I know, but I think if he would have won All Stars, I'm not sure if he would have done anything after that. You know, I
Mm.
think he just wanted to win. You
Yeah.
know, because I don't think he's ever going to play again. He
No,
doesn't.
he
He
doesn't need
says
to.
he's done. So, but you know, just I mean, I love this cast. We get some emotional moments. There's some interesting vote offs, and there's some disappointing stuff, which I think
Yeah.
is why it lands in the middle territory.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on All Stars?
I'm good.
Okay. Let's move on to number 17. Yeah,
Yes.
17. All right. A early season. Um, one that has, I think, arguably the most unique location for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I'm talking about season 3, Africa. Some people aren't as big on Africa, but I had it. I mean, I had it at 19. Where'd you have it, Will?
I had it at 20. So,
Yeah, so we're pretty much even there.
yeah.
You know, it's old school,
Mhm.
and that doesn't mean it's bad by any means. But I think, as we've said when we were talking about Marquesas, the game has changed, and so
Yeah.
I think in this period it was sort of like we're trying to figure out, is Survivor a show about people surviving together, or is it
Yeah.
about it, or is it a
Strategy.
game, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think the seasons where it is a game and the game is really fun to watch,
Hmm.
obviously I think we've placed those higher.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that this is bad. So that's why it
Right.
lands sort of in the middle.
Hmm.
Uh, that being said, I think it has a complete cast of characters that are fun to watch.
Hmm.
Again, not always, I mean, the vote off isn't always super interesting,
Right.
especially once you get towards the middle part of the merge where it's sort of basically a pagonging. But
Yeah.
I think the merge is really good. Uh, I think I mean, that first vote off where Clarence steals the food. and doesn't end up going home. Like, that's crazy. Then the sort of age divide on Samburu between the old folks and the young folks. I think that's fun to watch. Then the tribes swap, which really screws over Silas.
Yeah.
I think that's fun, and it gets rid of Lindsay, who I think is one of the most annoying people to play.
Oh. Are you willing to stand by that? There are a lot of people who have played Survivor now.
I said one of. I didn't say the. One of several, but she's definitely in the top 10. Let's just say that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I love the merged cast. I mean, you got Lex, you got Big Tom, T-Bird, who we love, Ethan, yeah, the two Kims. I like the two Kims. Frank is like the Clint Eastwood of Survivor. He and Brandon go on their little date and go watch Out of Africa. Like, that's just something you would never see on modern day Survivor, you know?
Right.
Is that kind of challenge, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it probably had some of the best reward challenges, I think.
Yes.
I vividly remember the one with Ethan and Lex where they go to that village with the kids.
The goat.
Yeah, and the goat. Oh, gosh.
Goat. You say kids, I say goat. You know, priorities.
I think of the kids, but also the goat. I try not to remember the goat because it probably got killed. So,
not probably, it definitely got killed.
Oh, I didn't want to think about that. But just, you know, just a full slate of characters. Do you have any thoughts on Africa, Will?
I mean, it's a solid middle tier season, you know? It's not bad. And I think for old school Survivor, it's probably, in terms of like, if you want to watch Survivor for the survival aspect, I would watch Africa, maybe even first.
Yeah, the living conditions probably the hardest of any season.
Yeah.
Because not only is it's probably the hottest climate they've ever been in, but also hardly any water.
Yeah, there's no water. And also, like, lions.
Yeah, there's lions. But I can't get over how they had to basically drink out of a mud hole. Like, that had to be awful. I would not have made it, that's for sure. But kudos to those of you who were on Survivor Africa, though, for sure.
Shout out to you.
Yeah. You somehow managed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you any other final thoughts on Africa, Will?
I'm good.
All right. Let's move on to number 16.
Let's do it. I'm not a fan of this season. Just a forewarning. I had this specific season placed at number 24 on my list, which is the top of my lower tier. This is a season that starts off with bang, not necessarily a good bang, but a bang, and just kind of keeps on trucking. This is going to be Survivor Palau, or Survivor Plow Through until, you know, only one tribe remains. Anyway, my opinion of Survivor Palau. Let's see where to start. You vote off two of possibly the most interesting people on the cast before they're even on a tribe. Like, definitely Wanda. Like, how do you get rid of Wanda? How? Like, I want to know who on production let that happen and why they let that happen. But then, like, it's just such a pagonging. Like, not even a satisfying pagonging, because it's just so, like, it doesn't even make sense. It does not make sense. Like, Kaôh should not have won that many immunity challenges. They weren't that, like, they were not that ahead in terms of people. You know what I mean? Like,
they weren't as athletic as the other tribe.
They weren't. I don't understand. Like, it's just, I mean, yes, Tom is a fantastic person, and he's a fine winner. I have no issues with Tom winning, but like rooting for Tom is not enough to suffer through that pre-merge. It's just not. It's not worth it. Anyway, you clearly liked it better than I did. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, I had this at number 12. Will.
Okay. Well,
So we are not in agreement. I actually really liked this season. I think it was a full cast of characters. And then I think yes,
got some loonies in there.
But I love them. I think the kicking the two people off at the beginning is crummy, but it's at least it happens, and then we move on.
What else can you do?
Yeah. I just think the suckage of oolong is really interesting on just especially when you're first watching this, because if you're like a fan of this is not one. I'm not saying this is great like on a rewatch. Know it's happening,
right.
But when this first happened, people couldn't believe this tribe couldn't win anything, and so really they should have done a tribe swap. But I find it interesting to see an entire tribe decimated to one person. I think that's kind of crazy. And the thing is, you don't know that it's going to be Stephanie. It very well could have been, I think it could have been Bobby John. It could have been James or Angie,
Ibrahim.
Yeah, it could. I think you knew some of the people were going to get voted off.
Down until like the final 5 people on Oolong.
Yeah. I think like
they were probably underrated or underedited.
Yeah. But I love the last 5 members of Oolong. I really do. Yeah. I wish something would have been done to try to keep them in the game. Because
all 5 of them.
I think we lost good characters in Angie and James, and we'll never see them again. But I think they were great TV for the time they were there. And then the merge, I think is pretty. I think you have this. You say which of Tom or Ian is going to win. I think it's going to be one of them. You just don't know which one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like Kobe's blindside's entertaining. Greg,
mm-hmm.
Karen has like a meltdown and blows up her game. Like I think all that's good. And the final 3. You got Tom. He does this manipulation on Ian, and you're just like, wait, Tom's a hero, like that was very villainous.
Very villainous, yeah.
So I think the hero designation fits him in other ways, but in that moment it was like Tom, you know.
But like also Ian knew like there was no way that Katie was not going to make it to final 2. No way.
He could have hung on there, but he voluntarily jumped off though,
He did, so, but he did it knowing that he was going to be voted out. So like I don't even know that I consider that a manipulation.
But he could have won the final immunity.
Yeah.
Tom convinced him to jump off,
Yeah.
Like that's like a...
But it's just, I don't know. It's such a weird thing to call manipulation because Tom is literally like, hey, Ian, jump off. And he's like, okay, only if you vote me out. So like,
no, he's saying like, if he jumps off, they can have their friendship back, So that's like and you're just like $1 million or friendship with
Friendship.
Tom.
Yeah.
You know, so Ian obviously made a great error there, I feel.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I'm voting you out for $1 million.
on behalf of Tom, that's a great move, you know.
It is, yeah.
So and that's the longest challenge ever. I think it went 13 hours, which
Yes.
which is insane. And it could have went on longer, you know. So
also, shout out to the Survivor production team who decided that it would be a good idea for them to literally just stand on barrels in the water and see how long it took them to fall off.
yeah.
Like, we knew that was going to go for 13 hours. Let's not pretend. We're not surprised that that's the longest Survivor challenge ever. We knew. Right? We had to have known.
Well, I think, you know, the fatigue, all of that starts to set in, but I don't think they thought it was going to go that long because they had to bring in lights because it started.
That's true.
It started in the day and then it got dark. So,
R.I.P.
Yeah, but I love Palau. I can understand for you it's probably not as interesting, especially on a rewatch. But
yeah, no, I liked Palau upon first watch, but also I very distinctly remember every time Oolong lost the immunity challenge, I was like, well, like, what is the point of me continuing to watch? Like the episode, not the season, but just the episode. Like I would give up on the episode once the immunity challenge happened and would just watch it because I knew I had to. I stopped being excited about every single episode every time Kaôh Rōng won an immunity challenge. After like the first two, every time.
I still think it's interesting to see like a tribe just cannot win, you know. So it's interesting.
Each their own.
But all right. You ready to move on?
Let's do it.
All right, to our number
15.
Our number 15. Do you want to talk about this one?
I can. So I had the season at number 18. I think that this season gives us a lot of great characters. Actually a lot of great characters in hindsight. All of the final six are all of the final six are very memorable. And they're not the only people from the season who are memorable, just for me personally. This is probably the worst way to begin a season of Survivor, wherein you have 4 tribes of 4 people, right? It's just 4 tribes of 4.
Yeah, and it was divided by gender
age and gender, which was dumb. This is obviously Survivor Panama or Survivor Exile Island, whatever you want to call it. The introduction of Exile Island in the season is incredible. I think Exile Island is great. It makes for really great TV. We also had really great characters in the season. Aris, Danielle, Terry, Sari, Shane, Courtney. I'm sure there are more. Those are just the first 6 that come to my mind. Sally is in this season. I'm a fan of Sally, even though she didn't make it very far.
Did you say Terry?
I did say Terry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like Terry.
My favorite soundbite of Panama is Call the Ambulance. I don't know. This season is it's so for me. It's the middle of my middle tier. I don't know. I don't hate it. Just like, you know, it starts off so rough. Like, why? Why are we having tribes of 4? Tribes of 4, right? Is it 5? Only 16 people participated in Exile Island. I'm not going crazy.
It's tribes of 4.
Yeah, 4 tribes of 4. Separated by gender and age. Because that sounds fair. Granted, this only lasts for like 1. It doesn't last very long.
I think they wanted it to be a thing, but then the old ladies lost, and they were like, "Well, we can't."
Really, keep losing. What do we do?
Yeah, so I think they decided to abandon it altogether. But
yes,
you know, just and again, mostly a cast of characters.
Yeah,
I think it is a good middle season because.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like a couple of pre-merge episodes I really like. Some pre-merge episodes where not a lot happens. then in the merge, I think when they're pagonging Lamina, it's kind of boring. But I think once it's just down to Kasaya and Terry, I think it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Little underwhelmed by the final two, not gonna lie.
Yeah. This season was very heavily Suri and Terry.
Yeah, I think Suri and Terry would probably be the strongest final two ever. I think people would struggle with who to vote for.
Who to vote for, yeah.
But Aris and Danielle, once you start this season, I don't really pick those two to be the final two, you know?
No, I think their games are both under-edited, but I think that in terms of players, I think they're both really strong players. Even when they're brought back. Like, I think they both play pretty well when they're brought back as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not awful, but, I mean, it's just, they're not the
cream of the crop.
Yeah, they're not the personalities that you were really rooting for.
Yeah.
I think Arth, in his first time, played a little more emotionally sometimes.
Yes.
But, you know, I mean, you got Crazy Shane, who is like having withdrawals from nicotine. So that's always fun to watch on TV. Yeah, well, and then he's like fighting with Courtney, who is equally as annoying.
Yes, who was also like very closely aligned with him the entire time.
Yeah, they had this weird thing going on. I'm not sure, but
I don't understand Survivor Panama.
It's really, this cast sort of reminds me of like a Gabon, where everyone kind of hates each other.
Yeah, there are like a couple of people playing the game, and everyone else is just like struggling.
Like,
and those two people just so happen to be Aris and Suri. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like Danielle's
very under the radar.
She is. She's very under the radar this season.
I think they were gonna let her be like maybe she was trying to be like Danny, who won the season before, you know.
Yeah.
I could see her sort of drawing inspiration from her. But yeah, it's a good middle season. Actually, hold on, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
Keep talking, Will.
Yeah, well, no, I agree. I think it's a very solid middle tier season. It's so. I don't hate it. Like, other than the opening twist of the tribe, like not the twist, but like the tribe divisions. Other than that, I don't have too many qualms with it. It's just like not fantastic in terms of gameplay. It has really great characters. They all make it pretty far, or at least most of them make it pretty far. And you got some great feuds. If you're in it for the characters, watch Survivor Exile Island. If you're in it for gameplay, maybe don't start there.
Yeah, I had it at number 13. I think the latter part is just so good in my opinion.
Yeah.
It makes up for the parts that aren't as interesting for me.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a good middle season. All right.
All right.
Ready to move 14? On? Number 14.
Yeah.
So this is another early season of Survivor. Some people might not see eye to eye with us on this. They might think this even needs to be number 1. But I think that's wearing the nostalgia goggles a little too much. And I'm talking about the Australian Outback season 2, the most watched Survivor season, with I think it was 100 million people. So that's a lot of views. So, but
it is a lot of views.
But if you look at what has come after it, it's just, this is good, but this is just so much better in terms of the game. Because like we said with Africa, this is sort of when they're trying to figure out, is this a show about people surviving together, or is this a game?
Or is it a game?
So, and there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, this is our What'd you have it at, Will?
I had this at number 11. It was actually the last season in my upper tier.
Okay, I had it at 18. So,
Okay, gotcha.
I sort of ranked the early seasons in a row.
Okay.
I had Marquesas 20, Africa 19, Australia 18. You probably know what my 17 is. But, I just, for me, they all sort of belong together because they're so similar in the way they're formatted. But we also, one of the good things about the early seasons is pretty much everyone is interesting. And that's not the case for a lot of recent seasons. But, complete cast of characters. You got Tina, you got Colby, you got friggin' Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who has probably done the most with her Survivor fame.
Yeah.
I think most people don't even realize she was on Survivor.
No.
Nowadays.
No one remembers.
Yeah, I think
Amber,
she might even be trying to run away from it.
Yeah.
You got
Amber
Roger,
and Jerry, Roger, Michael
Yeah.
Scoopin.
Yeah, despite what people may think about him now, I mean, he was still a big character then.
And he gave us one of the most memorable moments of Survivor history.
Yeah, this made people say, you know what, Survivor's freaking real.
Yeah, real.
Yeah, this is not scripted TV. You got Kimmy, who in my opinion is more memorable here than her second appearance.
You got Jeff.
Yeah, you got Alicia. Yeah, I even like some of the early people. I like Marilyn. I think she's a lot of fun. I like Kel with the beef jerky, so that's fun. And it's one of the few unsolved mysteries.
Right.
Did Kel have beef jerky or not? We don't know.
We never know.
Yeah, so. And most of the vote offs you can kind of see coming. I think the biggest surprise is Jerry's blindside. I think that was a big moment. Sort of, it was really the first blindside, you know.
Wow, I just realized every time she has played the game, she's been blindsided out.
Yeah.
Bless her.
Poor Jerry.
Oh, Jerry.
Actually, I love Jerry. She's a
I do too.
She's a fun villain.
And she gets better every time she plays.
Yeah, she was one of the most improved. So,
at least from first season to last season, she didn't do quite as well in All Stars, but it's not her fault.
Yeah, we won't talk about her exit in All Stars, but just full slate of characters. Casting did a great job with finding these people. I think they were super fun to watch, even if it wasn't, the actual tribal council. The game part of it isn't that interesting. I think the survival part is.
Yeah, I mean, you have the flood.
Yeah, the flood, the pig where they kill the pig. I think all that's fun. So, especially as like a little kid watching it, I think a little kid enjoys it. So, who may not understand all the social aspects of what's going on. So, any other thoughts on the Australian Outback, Will?
I mean, I obviously had it in my upper tier, which is different than where it ends here because it is a middle tier in terms of our combined thing. I don't know. I might be looking through the nostalgia goggles just a little bit. I appreciate it for what it is, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's better than a middle tier. I think it is an upper tier season, but it's definitely the bottom of the upper tier.
I think nostalgia goggles are fine, but
yeah,
people putting it as number 1 or 2, I'm just like.
Again, let's refer back to when Will said that people can have wrong opinions.
He said it, not me.
I don't care.
I'll leave Will's email in the description below.
No, you will not.
I'm just kidding. All right, you ready to move on to number 13?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really mad at you, for starters.
Oh
So,
dear.
this season that we're about to talk about, I have as my number 5. It's my number 5 season of Survivor ever.
I
Like,
have it at 21 for
yeah.
context,
So, like, let's
which
just.
is not bad in hindsight. So just
What do
saying, it's
you
not
mean?
bad.
What do you mean?
Keep
Not bad.
going.
Anyway, okay. So Brooks is biased against this season because he hates the gimmick, but I think he needs to get over it and understand that this season is actually incredible. And he's going to tell you the opposite when he gets his turn, but it's my turn. So you have to listen to me. I'm sorry. So this season is Survivor San Juan del Sur, Blood vs. Water 2, except this is the more improved version of Blood vs. Water where you don't know any of the people. Redemption Island no longer exists. It's just Exile Island instead, which is a very interesting game mechanic in this season specifically. We get possibly one of the best winners of Survivor ever out of this season. We also get another pretty all right winner upon his return out of this season. We have such an interesting dynamic with John and Jacqueline being swing votes for like the entire time they're out there, which is incredible considering one, their dynamic was so explosive, and two, how do you let a couple be a swing vote the whole time? Um, we have Missy V. Reed. We have like the Alec flip. Like we just have so much Natalie geniusness in this season. The pre-merge can drag a little bit because like those first 3 episodes are so heavily John Rocker and nobody needs that. But then like I don't know, the storylines you get out of the season are so interesting. The gameplay that you have from Natalie, from John, like Jeremy and Josh running the show and then going out back to back. You have Reed trying to scramble to stay in. You have Keith Nail. Keith Nail is in this season. Like I don't understand. 21. I'm so upset. I don't understand. It's so good. It's so good. I'm done.
All right, let me bring everybody back to Earth.
Excuse you. I am in the realm of reality. People agree with me, by the way. They don't agree with you. They agree with me.
I think some people absolutely hate San Juan del Sur. I think
They're wrong.
some people have it lower than I do. In
They're
fact,
wrong.
most people have it lower than I do.
No. Incorrect.
Okay, well, live in that fantasy land.
It's not a fantasy, but I'll live in it.
I'm gonna let you live it. But so I think the merge is really good. I do. I think, Josh, his blind side. I think Jeremy's blind side. I mean, Wes getting idled out. I think all that is good. I think, Natalie playing her idol on Jacqueline is good. So I don't think any of that is bad. And I think that's why I put it in my middle tier. But I think this has one of the most boring pre merges of any season. And the Julie McGee quit episode tacked onto that for good measure, So I think, this is what, like 14 episodes? And so that's 7 episodes that I don't like. So that's half the season, So I have to put it in the middle. I'm sorry.
I think we're watching different seasons, but it's okay.
And again, like you said, I don't care for the blood versus water format. I think it's sort of it's getting too close to other reality shows, and I don't like that. This isn't marriage boot camp, so I just
We
don't.
haven't had a married couple yet, have we? Other than the Culpeppers?
Jeremy and Val.
Oh, right. You're right. They had kids, didn't they?
And Candace and John, Rupert and Laura.
I forgot. I'm forgetting about those people because they didn't last very long.
And John and Jacqueline were engaged, so basically, and they act like an old married couple. But I like I said, I like the merge, so I'm able to reconcile that, and that is why it's in my middle tier. It's not in my top 5. I'm sorry. That pre-merge is just way too. It's not that it's bad. It's just boring. So
I just still feel like we're watching the different seasons. The Nadia blindside is interesting. The Val vote out is sad. The John Rocker vote out is satisfying. The Drew blindside is satisfying. The Kelly blindside is sad, but it's still a blindside. And the Dale vote out is boring. And the Julie quit is upsetting. I will give you those two, but only those two.
I think they're all boring. I knew Nadia was going to go home. I mean,
I'm impressed that you did, because I don't even think that Baylor knew that Nadia was going to go home.
Well, she was like, she thought Josh was automatically with her because he's gay. So, I mean, that was just an error on her part.
Yeah.
And you knew Val was going to go home. She was trying to save herself, but we knew she didn't have the idol. So,
yeah,
I just don't find the pre-merge interesting at all. So, any other thoughts on San Juan del Sur, Will?
No, you're wrong. I'm right. It's fine.
You say so. I mean, I love the second half, but the first half is awful. So,
moving on. I can think of worse pre-merges, but it's fine. We'll move on.
There's worse, but it's with them. So,
I disagree.
Okay.
Moving on?
Yeah, moving on.
All right.
So our number... What number are we on?
12.
Number 12. This was one... where did you have this one, Will? I'm curious.
What are we looking at? I had this at 21.
Wow. Okay. So... This is one that I guess I get to defend. This is my number 4.
Okay.
This is in early season, although it really has a lot to do with shaping the modern era of Survivor. And I'm talking about season 6, The Amazon. First off, Rob Sesternino, one of my favorites. It's just really fun to watch him play.
Yeah.
He was the first real nerd that got to be on Survivor, I enjoy Heidi and Jenna. I think they're a lot of fun. I enjoy Christy. I think I'm glad she was given the chance. A lot of shows even today have never had someone that is deaf. And for Survivor to be such a social game and for her to make it as far as she did, I think it is very remarkable. And I don't think Survivor gets a lot of credit for that. So props to them for allowing her to be on the show. And I think she was a fun character in her own right. Very sassy. I really like Christy. Then you got, I like Dina and I like Alex. I think they're fun. Alex's blindside is one of the funniest moments, and I think is really underrated when he's telling Rob he's going to vote him off at the final 4. Rob's like, okay, I'll vote you off now. So Alex gets blindsided, so that's fun. Dina's blindside. Heidi's blindside, Christy's blindside, all of that orchestrated by Rob. I think it's all great. Pre-merge is pretty good. I think there may be like one or two episodes where there's not that much going on. But I think other than that, it's interesting. You get the battle of the sexes dynamic is probably at its best here, because you
Yes.
have the men making, remarks about the women, how they're gonna stomp them into the ground because they're men, and then they lose the first challenge, which is hilarious. So that's fun. I think it is disappointing that Rob doesn't win, but you know what? I think Jenna is still a satisfying winner, and I think, you know, it's overall just a really fun season and the best early season, in my opinion. So, uh, Will, you want to? I mean, you had it as middle tier, so do you want
Yeah.
to talk about why it was more middle tier for you?
I mean, like you were saying earlier about how you just kind of have the earlier seasons all in a row. I just kind of have the earlier seasons in a row. I didn't think the pre-merge was very interesting, aside from the battle of the sexes dynamic. Personally, I'm just gonna repeat everything that you just said. My computer is dying. Um,
Uh-oh.
uh, I'll finish explaining this, and then
I'll
I'm gonna run
keep
to get my
talking.
charger.
Go get your
Well,
charger.
no, hold on. I have enough. I have 6%. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna repeat everything that you just said about Juan del Sur. Essentially, I was not a fan of the pre-merge. Um, the only difference for me is that Rob is the Natalie of this season. Like Rob is the person making all the moves, and Rob doesn't win. And like I would have still liked San Juan del Sur if Jacqueline had won, but it wouldn't have been as satisfying. And so Jenna winning instead of Rob is unsatisfying for me. And like it's got a good post merge, but it doesn't. I don't know. I don't remember the pre merge very well, and so I'm not high on this season. I'm not anti the Amazon, which is exactly what you just said, which is why I feel hypocritical, but I also don't care. Um, I don't know. It's just so.
Okay, go run and get your charger. I'll keep talking.
Yeah, you're gonna tell them how wrong I am. It's fine.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Well, he does that because he's making me nervous. So yeah, I think the pre-merge. I mean, you have, I think the tribe swap. Well, first off, I think Ryan, his blind side is fun, and then I think Janet with the granola bar. I think that's fun. Uh, Daniel's boot, yeah, not that interesting of an episode. Joanna's blind side is fun. I really like her blind side. Then you get to uh, the tribe swap, and I think Jean and Shauna's vote offs are pretty interesting. So uh, I just think, I think Janet and Daniel's vote offs are like so, but everything else in the pre-merge is pretty good, I think. So, all right, well, are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
I'll
Uh,
let you have the Amazon if I get to have San Juan del Sur, and it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I mean, to me, the Amazon is just it's so important to
Yeah,
survivor history, I
I
feel
will
like.
tell you in hindsight, I'm not sure why I have the Amazon lower than some other seasons that I have above it. I'm not sure why I did that. I think I did it wrong. I think I have it too low. However, I wouldn't put it in my top 5.
Yeah, I guess for me, and maybe it's so important to
Yeah.
modern day survivor because it really
You're
was.
looking I was
What?
going to say you're looking through nostalgia goggles. I'm looking through Natalie Anderson goggles. And it's fine.
I don't think it's necessarily nostalgia goggles. I think it's, you know, it really was the first season that really broke away from like the pagonging.
Yeah.
And I think it really became uh, this idea like, yeah, you don't have to stick with the people you start with. So I think that was an important development. So But all right, I guess I've defended it. I feel like I defended it well. So,
You did.
and even you said you think you might reconsider where you put it. So
Right.
I
I would still
consider
keep it middle tier.
I I consider it mission accomplished. Will, that's
You
all
didn't
I'll
change my
say.
mind. I changed my mind. Anyway, moving on.
All right. Do you want to talk about 11
Yeah.
while I sip on my tea?
It's fine. So this season is another one that I think is probably heavily contested by some people. I think some people have it a lot higher than we do. I think some people have it lower than we do. I like where it's at. I'm a fan of this season being at number 11, and that is going to be Survivor's very first season, Borneo. I had this season at number 8 on my list. Looking back, I would move it down. Um, I would keep it in my top tier, but I would move it down. Um, I'm a fan of this season mostly for nostalgia, just because it's the very first season of Survivor. You have so many characters in the season, so many memorable characters. A lot of people have come back from this season doing varying stages of better and or worse in those returning seasons. I don't know. I just think that this is a season that's really important to the lore of Survivor. Obviously, it was before gameplay was really a thing, but like you see the birth of alliances, you see like the genuine survival aspect of Survivor. You get Richard Hatch out of this season. You have like the great Sue Hawk speech. You have Kelly Wigglesworth. Like I don't know, Rudy. You have Rudy. You know,
Yeah. I mean, some people have this as like their number one.
yeah,
I think that really is the
pushing it.
I think that really is the nostalgia goggles. And
Yeah,
I know I'm probably speaking heresy to some people, but I'm sorry. It's it's its own thing. Like it really it's hardly
yeah.
even the same show at this point.
Right.
Like
Australian Outback is really where this version of Survivor started.
yeah, I mean it's almost like a documentary
Yeah.
in a way. The way that it's shown is almost like a documentary of these people stranded on this island living together,
Yeah.
and like we said, and it's very repetitive, Is this a survival show or is this a game,
Yeah.
So,
And in the beginning, it was a survival show, and that's okay.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what has come after that is just so good, and I'm glad. I'm glad
Yeah.
because, Survivor is one of those shows that it really one of the few shows, and it's why it's lasted as long as it has. It's one of those few shows that has only gotten better as it has
Yeah.
progressed.
It's
A
had a
lot
few
of
bumps along the way. But
well, yes, obviously, but what show hasn't? But I'm talking
right.
about as far as the format of the
Yeah.
show, so many shows it's like the first season is the best season
Yeah.
and all the other seasons don't capture the
Right.
magic that the first did.
Yeah.
And
This
they
isn't the case.
and then they get canceled,
Yeah.
That's the case for a lot of scripted series,
Yeah.
and even a lot of reality TV shows
Yeah.
other than Survivor. So, uh, but it's managed to keep its fan base, and it tries to keep it fresh with a new sort of concept every season. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't, but at least they're trying. So
Yeah.
so I think that's I know I sort of went off on a tangent there, but I think it's relevant
Yeah.
to Borneo.
It's a necessary tangent.
Yeah, I think it's relevant to Borneo and this
Mhm.
whole discussion about ranking which one is the best one. So
Yeah.
any other thoughts on Borneo? Will?
No, I mean, you have to like this season, but you don't have to love it, and that's okay. It's a
What's
solid lower tier season. Like not lower tier. It's a solid lower upper tier season.
I mean, I love it. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
the format is different.
Yes.
It's like I said, it's almost like a completely different show at this point.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to get into
So
our
ready.
top 10?
Let's do it.
Uh, And I think for the most part, we were mostly in agreement about our top 10.
Yeah.
There was some
Some
differences,
discrepancies, yeah.
but I mean, mostly we agree that these seasons are pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it with number 10, a fairly recent season, season 32.
Yes.
Kaôh Rōng.
Kaôh Rōng.
Stellar casting,
Mhm.
great characters, a concept that worked the first time, and I think works here the second time.
Yeah.
Has a few setbacks with the medevacs.
Yeah.
But
it's a nice return to the original survival aspect, though.
Yeah, and I think that Caleb medevac, well, 3 people going down was probably one of the. I mean, my heart was beating fast watching that, and you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, are 3 people about to get pulled from the game?
Right.
So that was probably one of the most memorable moments of the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, just, I mean, even I love the pre-merge people. You got Darnell, who craps in the ocean. You got Jenny, who likes to stand on top of the tribal council seats. You got Liz. You got Alicia, who's like the
R.I.P.
the underdog. I mean, I liked Alicia. I thought she was funny.
I did too.
I'd actually be okay with her coming back.
I can think of a few other people from that season that I want to see come back first, but
I in addition to Alicia, I'd like to see her come back. I think she's fun. But
Anna.
Yeah, Anna, and Peter's like a good villain.
Yeah.
And then the post-marriage cast. I mean, you got Nick, and I know Debbie's crazy, but she really is like the second coming of Coach. She's like
the better coach.
She's the. Well, I still prefer Coach, but she's
no, not I.
She's the female Coach.
Okay.
In my opinion,
Neil.
she's the. Yeah, you got Neil, you got Scott and Jason really are a return to classic Survivor villains.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you ever saw someone pour water on the fire? I mean, that hasn't been done.
Like Russell, right?
Yeah, or
no, someone's done it since Russell.
Or stealing food.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in years. That's just not something we see anymore, and that's like a classic season type thing. That's a Sandra thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because she goes right back and does it on Game Changers with the sugar.
Yeah.
But that's a classic villain thing. So I like Scott and Jason as the villain characters. I think they're a lot of fun, and Jason even kind of becomes this like anti-hero in a way, but Scott really is a villain, and I think he likes it. So
yeah, he'll never own it though.
And you got Aubrey and Joe and Sydney and Michelle, and you know what? I'm okay with Michelle winning. I probably would have voted for Aubrey, but
yes,
I can't. I mean, I'm not one of these people. A lot of people have let Michelle winning sort of ruin this season for them.
Right, and I don't understand that. Like, there are worse people who could have won that season. One of them was in the final 3 with her.
Yeah, I mean, Ty could have won, I guess. And Ty is a big character too.
He's a big character.
One of our memorable moments. Well, did Ty name his chicken after his husband or his husband after his chicken?
The world may never know.
I saw someone write that somewhere, and I just thought it was so funny.
I
They
just
were
want,
like,
I don't understand why we didn't talk about that in Kaôh Rōng. Why did we wait until Game Changers to inform the world that Ty's husband's name is Mark?
he named the chicken after his husband. Then someone said, or did he name his husband after his chicken? Oh, that was so funny. But yeah, I like Ty. I mean, he's not my most favorite or anything, but I think he has his moments. I think he's fun, and he's the immunity idol whisperer.
He is.
So,
one of the few.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got its setbacks with the metavex, but I think most episode. I really don't think there's that many bad episodes. I really don't. I don't think.
I'd agree.
I mean, maybe one or two, but really.
Yeah, the
really,
Alicia Vodoff episode is just kind of icky.
But still, it gives you Caleb's
Yeah.
medevac, which is still one of the most.
Right.
I mean, at that point, you don't even care about Alicia. You're
right.
just like,
it's a heavy episode to sit through, though. Like it's hard.
Yeah, but it's still memorable. So, yeah, I love Kaôh Rōng. Any other thoughts on it, Will?
No, solid top 10.
You ready to move on to number 9?
Yeah. So this is a season that I didn't have in my top 10, but it was close. It was my number 13. Which apples and apples essentially. Like we're just trying to put things up there. I think this is definitely one of the best middle school seasons in terms of characters, in terms of interesting location, in terms of gameplay from a few, and just for like general really great moments. I'm talking about season 15, China. I always think that China is season 16, and I know that it's wrong every time. We're talking about Survivor China. I think that this season has a lot of great characters, like so many great characters. Possibly everyone is a great character. You have the very interesting tribe swap where they voted to send members to the other tribe, like by a ballot that they just decided who was going over, but they didn't know it was a tribe swap. Very Africa-esque. You have Todd, obviously, is a great winner. Amanda and Courtney are equally great characters / players, very deserving of being in the final 3. You have Denise. You have so many memorable characters. You have Jamie and Eric. You have James. You have Frosty. You have Sharia. You have Jean Robert. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of great people on the cast of China.
Yeah, just a full-on cast of characters, and probably the last classic season of Survivor, I would say.
Yeah.
I think, well, Tocantins was the last with 16 people, but this was second to last. But, just it's one of the last seasons. I think it is the last season where every single person from the pre-merge gets a story, and you do not see that anymore.
No.
Most pre-merge boots. Yeah. Most pre-merge boots are relevant in the episode they're booted on, and after
sometimes
that,
not even matter. There.
Yeah. But I remember the pre-merge people vividly. You got Chicken. You got Ashley. You got Leslie, who I love.
I love Leslie.
You got Crazy Dave and Sharia. So, I mean, pretty much every single one of them had a story with them, which is what I liked. And I had this at number 8. So I really like China.
Yeah, I forgot PG when I was going through names, but PG also super memorable.
PG is a good character. She's a lot of fun. My only qualm with China is I never have any doubt that Todd's going to win.
Yeah.
from the
Courtney is
very
an
first.
amazing character and could give him a run for his money if she was as good at the game as him. But
Yeah, I knew Courtney wasn't going to win.
yeah,
I knew it was going to be Todd from the
yeah,
very first episode, just by
yeah,
the way his confessionals are going. And I love
mhm,
Todd, and I think he's a great
yeah,
winner. But that's my only qualm about this season. I think
yeah,
the editing's good for like the pre-merge people and
yeah,
the people in the post-merge, but
yeah.
couldn't have made it a little less obvious.
Right. Well, and I think it's essentially just as obvious that like we know we're getting down to Todd, Courtney, and Amanda. Like we know that that's the final three. There might be some toss-ups with Denise and James being like equally likable characters, but I think we know from the get-go, or at least a couple episodes in, that that's where we're headed. Is Todd, Amanda, Courtney?
Yeah, Todd's gonna win.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But you know what? The journey getting there is really fun. So
Yeah.
there's lots of, I mean, you got James getting voted out with 2 idols. John Robert's Blindside. He's the main villain of the season. So that's fun. Frosty's Blindside. I think it's all good. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, any other? Oh, one of my favorite locations too. I think it's
Yeah.
very,
They need to go back.
Yeah, I think they should go back to China. I think.
I understand that logistically that might not be possible anymore, but
Well, the U.S. and the Chinese government have a
yeah,
okay relationship.
okay relationship.
They're not going to say no to making some money. So,
True.
And other international versions film there. So,
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
think it'd be interesting to film in a different area of
Yeah.
China, and
Yeah.
maybe not in monsoon season.
Yeah, please.
But a very aesthetically pleasing location. I think they mixed the culture well,
Mhm.
and then the cast was great and has a great winner. So
It does.
that is why it is in our top 10.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready to move on to number 8?
Yeah.
All right, number 8, a season filled, jam packed with characters. Probably one of my favorite overall casts. I think there's a lot of fun people here, even if I'm not necessarily rooting for them. I just think they're hilarious to watch. I'm talking about season 18, Tocantins. You got Coach, obviously. You got Tyson. I think Tyson's really fun in his original run. I think
It's the
later
most fun
seasons,
Tyson has been.
yeah, I think later seasons he sort of gets the Aussie syndrome, but
He's very sticky.
yeah, but I really like him here. He's fun, and his exit is one of my favorite. You got Sierra, you got Debbie, who's fun. You got JT and Steven and Brendan
and Taj.
Yeah, I love Taj.
Mm-hmm.
Can't forget Taj.
And Aaron. I don't know if we've already said Aaron, but also Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron. So the whole merge cast is great.
Everyone. And even part of the pre-merge cast.
Yeah, I mean, Sandy is like this crazy character, but I love her.
Joe. Even though Joe was a part of the merge cast, he just didn't get to go to the jury.
Yeah, I even like freaking Carolina for the brief time she's there. She's entertaining. So, and just the whole storyline of the Jalapao 3 sort of managing to survive.
Yeah.
And
I-24.
And Timbira eating each other is just a great story because you're sort of rooting for the Jalapao 3.
Oh yeah.
And JT as a winner in this season is great.
Great. He's only gotten worse.
Yeah, sort of tarnished his legacy a little bit in his other 2 seasons, but here he's a lot of fun. So, um, what are your thoughts on Tocantins, Will? I had it at I had it at number 9.
I also have it at number 9.
Okay, so we're in agreement.
Yeah, I love Tocantins. I would go back and rewatch Tocantins. Like, that's a season that, like, I have rewatched it, and that's a season that it doesn't matter that you know what's going to happen. Like, granted, I think you can probably tell that that is where we're going, at least, especially by the time we get to the merge. Like, you know where we're headed. But I think it's a fun experience, and it's a good, like, it's not heavy, if that makes sense. Like, it's a very mild season of Survivor in terms of, like, there are never any episodes where I'm angry. Like, even though I hardcore was rooting for Sierra and she was kind of like pretty mistreated by Timbira from the get-go, like, even that didn't hamper the feel of the episodes, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like Tocantins is probably one of the lightest seasons of Survivor in terms of, like, the cast is just a lot of fun. Like, they all were just having a good time, even though they're out there miserable. They're all genuinely having a good time, especially once we get to the merge. Like, I will never understand the dynamic between JT, Steven, Taj, Debbie, Coach, Brendan, and Tyson. Like, I will never understand that trust that they all had with each other, even though they knew they were going to be voting each other out. Like, it doesn't make sense to my brain, but it's enjoyable to watch on television. None of them were bitter that they were being sent home, with the exception of, maybe Brendan and Sierra, because they were kind of edged out of the group. But
yeah, but it's just all so good,
right, it's good.
It's
hard to explain.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's one of those you could just sit down, like I could sit down and start watching it now, and
yeah,
I'd be fully entertained. Especially, I mean, at the post merge, I think there's a lot of interesting episodes.
yeah.
Maybe like when Jerry goes home is not that interesting, but I think
No.
other than that, everything else is fine. So yeah. Any other thoughts on Tocantins?
I mean, it takes a ding in terms of, like, diversity of casting, but the location's nice and it's enjoyable all around.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Are you ready to move on to number 7?
Yeah. I'm surprised. Like, I'm not surprised at where the season ended up, because I had it at number 6 on my list, so it's very on par. I'm just, like, looking at this list, I'm really excited, but it's like an excited surprise that this season made it up so high, because it is very old school Survivor. It's very, like, it's the classic era of Survivor. It's the only one that we have left that we haven't talked about yet, and that is Survivor Pearl Islands. I think the season is again, it's just so enjoyable. Like, there are some obvious bumps in the road, but that's okay, because you have the surprise of the outcast twist, which is great. You have Sandra existing. You have Rupert existing. I think that the theme of this season being it, like, not a theme, but they're in the Pearl Islands, and so they draw a lot of connections to pirates. Obviously, like, that's what the tribes are named after. You have the outcast tribe. Like, it's so piratey, and I think that they stick to that, not only in terms of what they're bringing to the table, but also the players. Like, the players are playing like they're pirate-esque. It's just enjoyable, and it's interesting. Like, there are very interesting social dynamics in Pearl Islands that I really enjoy watching, but mostly Sandra.
Mostly Sandra. Yeah, she really is one of the best parts about the season. I mean, I think the first 20 minutes of the season is one of the best premieres of any season, where they have to go find stuff for their camp in the village. I think that's fun to watch, seeing how they maneuver that. This was number 11 for me. I
Okay.
did take a few points off because I think the Outcast twist
Yeah.
fails as a twist.
Yes.
Because, as discussed in our best and worst twist video, there was no one you really wanted to come back. And so
Yeah.
I think that sort of bogs down the season a little bit for some people, but I think it's reconcilable because the post merge is just so good.
Mhm.
You're thinking Morgan is going to get begonged, but then Rupert goes home, then Krista goes home. So it's very
Mhm.
it's very unexpected, and then it seems like, well, now Morgan's in control, but then uh, T goes home, and uh, who else? Dara. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, and then of course we can't say all this without mentioning Johnny Fairplay,
I
who
mean, we
was a
could.
very no, we have to give him credit where credit is due.
Yes, he
He
is
was
very
a
important to
very
this season.
he's a very entertaining character.
Yeah.
The dead grandma thing is
Icky.
insane. Um, uh, he pulls on an Oscar-winning performance, uh, and
Yeah.
he's like, "My grandma's not dead. She's probably at home watching Jerry Springer." Like
Mhm.
just that, it's so funny. But then, you know, I think it's satisfying that he goes all that way and gets out third. I think
Yeah.
that's fun. And then Sandra, who was sort of the one everyone was rooting for because,
Mhm.
she was sort of the,
Anti Johnny Fairplay.
yeah, basically. And, she was close with Rupert and everybody
Mhm.
loved Rupert. So that support sort of moved to Sandra. And then
Yeah.
she sort of became the fan favorite that she is to this day.
Mhm.
Uh, and really, she showed that you don't have to be, the super physical player
Mhm.
or, this, pleasant personality to win. You can be under the radar. You can also be villainous.
Yeah.
Because really, to me, Hatch has villainous qualities. Uh, Brian was sort of sleazy,
Yeah.
not necessarily villainous, but
Yeah.
Sandra is the first real villain
Villain. Yeah.
to win.
Mhm.
Throwing the food away and blaming it on her ally, Krista,
Yeah.
like that
Poor
is,
Krista.
and letting Krista take the blame, and then Krista gets voted out,
Yeah.
and watching Krista like bawl her eyes out and not have no
Uh,
emotion on her face whatsoever, like that is ruthless.
mhm.
And I tip my hat to Miss Sandra
Mhm.
because that move, because really I think if she had not done that, she very well could have went home over Krista.
Yeah.
So I tip my hat to Sandra. That was a great move. And how can you not love Sandra? You know. So, but I did take points off because the outcast. I really don't care for that twist. I think it doesn't ruin the season for me by any means, but you know, I'm just like I took a few points off, and that's why it wasn't in my top 10. But
Mhm.
you liked it enough, so
Yeah.
it made it to number 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the Pearl Islands, Will?
I'm good.
You ready to move on to our number 6?
Let's do it.
Number 6, the season that saved Survivor.
You right.
Of course, I'm talking about season 25, the Philippines. Okay, so for me, like the 4 seasons after Heroes versus Villains are awful. I actually ranked all 4 of them on my worst. They were my 34 through 31. And Thailand was my 30. I would rather watch Thailand than those 4. So that should tell you all you need to know. But
I would not, but
anyway, that's like 4 straight seasons of bad. And so I was wanting anything. I was okay with something mediocre even. Like, come on. And luckily, so when I first saw that they were bringing back 3 returning players, I was like, all right, well this is cursed already because this has not worked for the other. But you know what? Somehow it does.
Right.
And I think it's because these 3 don't really have the egos that maybe like Robin Russell had. I don't think it's
Penner's got an ego.
I don't think it's as polarizing though.
Yeah, Penner's ego is funny, but he has an ego, definitely.
I think that's just his personality. But I don't think he thinks he's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I think he's humble in a way that Russell and Rob were not. But honestly, I don't think the returning players really play much of a role in my liking of this season. To be honest, they're sort of like side notes in a way, because to me, the shining stars are the newbies, which was so refreshing after 4 straight seasons of the newbies frustrating me. So, first off, Denise is a great winner.
Yeah.
Only person to ever go to every single tribal council.
Yeah. Incredible.
And survive. So kudos to her. But she's a great winner in her own right. Malcolm is one of the most likable players of New School and maybe even of all time.
Yeah.
Lisa Welchell's a fun character.
Lisa.
I like her. I mean, she had her annoying moments, but I like her as a whole. Abby is a fun villain. Pete's a fun and underrated villain, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like Jeff Kent.
Jeff.
He's hilarious.
Carter's a good time.
When he was shown, yes.
True. Very Purple Kelly.
Yeah.
But he won a lot of immunities.
RC is fun. Her feud with Abby is really one of those defining moments.
Artist is there.
I like a lot of the pre-merge people. I like Angie. She's fun.
More cookies.
Yeah, I mean, she's fun. I mean, she was considered for Game Changers of all things. So, although that might tell you.
Did not know that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Yeah, she made the finals.
I'm not going to say anything. We've already talked about the casting of Game Changers. Anyway, moving on.
And but I still like her. I think she's a fun.
Yeah.
She's one of the more memorable pre-merge boots in Survivor history, I think. I like. Oh, come on! Who doesn't love cookies?
I think there are more memorable people.
New School.
Yeah.
I like Dawson. She's a lot of fun.
I love Dawson. That medevac hurt a lot.
Are you talking about Dana?
Yes, I am.
In your defense,
day,
they both start with a D. But
It's been a long day. We're fine. I know who Dawson is as well. I'm on the same page. Sorry.
Dawson is Jeff Prep's professional stalker.
Yes.
Uh,
Dana is who I miss.
yeah.
Dawson.
Yeah, her getting medically evacuated wasn't fun, but
No.
and then who else?
Katie,
Zane.
Roxy.
I mean, Zane. Yeah, he's crazy, and you knew he wasn't going to win. But
Yeah.
even in his one episode, he's pretty memorable. I think he's fun.
I have a question. Were there really only 2 guys who went home pre-merge? Was it just Zane and Russell?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you ask that?
I just didn't remember. Like, that never occurred to me while we were watching the season that all of the women were being voted out. That never occurred to me.
In Millennials versus Gen X, only one male was voted out.
Yeah.
So.
But we had a male winner, so like that's not as impressive to me.
Oh, I didn't know you were basing that.
Well, no, like I just mean like we had a female winner, and nearly every single pre-merge boot was a woman.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But I mean, we still had 4 women at the merge, and 3 of them made it pretty deep. So.
Yeah, it's remarkable. But yeah, Philippines was sort of the women were sort of the easy targets, I guess.
Yeah.
Although, maybe wouldn't have happened if Matt Singh didn't suck so much.
Yeah. I'm glad they did though, because it kept Tandang in the game, and that was all I wanted.
Yeah, Tandang's really one of my favorite tribes.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite. Well, no, I would say in terms of like total like complete tribes, they're probably my favorite tribe ever.
Interesting.
Because they're like, okay. I don't know, 5 out of 6 had really strong stories, and all 6 of them were enjoyable characters to watch. So, and they won a lot. And then you throw Malcolm in there, and like you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Philippines is fantastic. It's what Survivor needed.
Oh yeah, this definitely restored my faith in the series, and I think it's only gotten better from there. I think it's really improved. I think casting was spot on for this season. I think I think they use Philippines as a model now when they cast, because casting for me has, as far as newbies go, it has only improved from this season. I think the newbies keep getting better and better to me, but
they're smarter.
Yeah, I think it's finding people that are entertaining and likable, but also will take risks and
maybe smarter isn't the word. Like maybe I'm looking for like they're all more savvy. Like we're getting a bunch of newbies who are players.
Yeah, very very true. Any other thoughts on the Philippines, Will?
Thank you for existing. That's all.
I will say I think it's a shame more people haven't come back from this season.
I do too. There are so many people who could come back. So many.
Yeah.
The only person we've had is Abby.
And Malcolm.
Oh, yeah. I always forget the Malcolm. Oops.
But yeah,
he came back for Caramoan. I just forget.
I think he tried to forget that too. He probably is going to try to forget Game Changers too. But I mean, maybe Lisa was sort of someone who's like one and done.
I wish she wasn't though.
She's like a celebrity and all that, so she.
And Survivor was hard.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. They asked her back, so there's some interest, but she declined. So
maybe later, maybe she'll eventually come back.
I'd like to see Jeff Kemp come back, but I think he again is sort of the one and done.
Yes, we've talked about how much we want Pete to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I love Pete. I think he's an underrated villain. But as far as I know, he's never been on their radar.
Yeah.
Maybe he was considered because there was like a list of 75 people for second chance. So
Yeah. I'm sure
maybe
he
he
was on
was.
there.
Yeah, but I'd still like to see him come back.
And RC will come back at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like to see her back. I mean, I'd like to see Denise back in the right format.
Yeah.
Possibly like all winners or
Yeah.
something like that, legends or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see her on something where it's like with Sandra and Game Changers,
Yeah.
or Tony. I don't want to see her
Yeah.
in that kind of
Although
format.
I don't know that Denise necessarily has enough exposure. You know what I mean? Like Tony, his game is obviously very hyped up, but a lot of people don't think about Denise's game. So Denise could have been able to hold her own in like a game changer season. People would have remembered. They would have been like, she won. So like obviously she's a threat, but I don't think they would have gunned for Denise out of the gate.
I think there's so many like female winners that need to come back.
Mm-hmm.
There's like Kim and Natalie and Denise, so I'm not sure what the correct format is for those three.
Yeah.
Maybe it is like another blood versus water type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I still want to, even though I don't really care to see that again.
I was just thinking how funny would it be if they brought Natalie and Nadia back again for a second blood versus water season.
Oh Lord, no! They probably
They couldn't
bring.
do that.
I don't know. Do they have any other siblings, or maybe
I mean, they have to have parents, so
maybe they're mom or dad or something. But anyway, so number 6, Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to our final 5. Will, you want to introduce this one?
Yes. So this is one of the most recent seasons of Survivor. I had this at my number 10. I think that this is an incredible season of Survivor with lots and lots of ups and not very many downs in terms of moves. I think nearly every vote out is a blindside, if not every single vote out is a blindside. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the culmination of this season. Not because we had an undeserving winner, just because I think that. Hold the phone. We're talking about Millennials versus Gen X. I'm going to put that out there before I go off on my tangent. So, number 5, Millennials versus Gen X. My tangent is that this season is so remarkable in terms of gameplay. Like, there's so much good gameplay happening, so many blindsides. You have the Jessica Rock draw, you have the Chris blindside, and then the Zeke blindside that happens shortly thereafter. There's so many great game moves that happen. And I think Adam was a part of those game moves just as much as David was, just as much as Hannah was, and just as like Ken was a part of those two. But like the season ends so heavily on the emotional backstories of the people out there. And I understand that it's a TV show and it's a game, and like those are real things that they were going through. Put that in the show. But I think that Millennials versus Gen X culminated with this sense that this was some like specifically remarkable journey just for Adam, and it was. And I don't want to take away from that. I just think that it's very easy to forget how much genuinely great gameplay happened in Millennials versus Gen X. And I think that's why I put it at number 10 and not at a higher place, is just because I think it falls on the storylines a little bit too much. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, it's better when there isn't gameplay or not as much gameplay. You know what I'm saying? Like the gameplay to storyline ratio was just a little skewed here when there was just so much good gameplay happening.
I sort of see what you're saying. I think the ending is a little underwhelming. I mean, I was on the David train. I was sort of convinced he was going to win based on the edit. So I think Adam was a little bit surprising, but not in necessarily a bad way. I think he's still did what he had to do,
Yeah.
and getting Hannah and Ken to turn on David's a big move.
Yeah.
So maybe for that one single thing, he deserves it, but
I still contest that, but we can touch on that later.
And then, like you said, every single episode is like a blind side, and we don't always necessarily, well, most of the time we really don't know who's going home, even when we get to the vote. So I think for that, and then I think the cast is really likable. I really adore most of the cast. I think they're a lot of fun. Even a lot of the pre-merge people, I really like. Figgy's a lot of fun. CC is a lot of fun. Who else? Michaela. How can I forget Michaela?
Right.
Just
Jay's a lot of fun. He's merged though.
Yeah, Jay. I love Jay. I love Jessica.
Mari.
Chris is fun. Taylor gives us like one of the most memorable moments with the stealing the food. We don't see a lot of Sunday, but I like Sunday. So
Brett and Sunday are interesting as a pair.
Yeah, I like Brett too. I think he's fun. So
I love
like
Hannah. So
yeah, I like Hannah. And Ken doesn't. I don't think really does too much, but he's still a nice, likable guy.
Yeah.
So just a great cast. I was sort of nervous initially when I saw they were doing old versus young again.
Yeah.
That really didn't work the first time. But thankfully that sort of gets abandoned once the old people can't really win anything. So, but just a great mix of people. And yeah, I know the gimmick is dumb, but I'm able to look past it. So,
yeah.
Any other thoughts, Will?
I'm good. Where did you have it on your list, actually?
I had it. I really liked it. I had it. It was my number 5. So,
okay,
that is why it made it this high. I had it at number 5. So, all right, let's move on to number 4, which this happens to be your number 1.
It is my number 1.
I'm gonna let you talk about why it's your number 1, because Will and I, interestingly enough, have different number 1s. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. I understand why your number 1 is your number 1, and I have nothing wrong with it. I am very confused as to why this season ends up at number 4. Like, I get it, but I also don't get it. So what we're going to be talking about is Survivor Season 31, Cambodia, Second Chances. This is my number 1 favorite season of all time. There are a lot of really great seasons of Survivor. I understand that. I am aware of that. However, I have never been so excited for Survivor episodes ever. And I love Survivor, and I'm very excited about every episode. But Second Chance was just a new level of excitement for me, even the build up. So, like, yes, it was very commercialized. That's okay. I appreciated knowing who was going to be out there, getting excited about who was going to be out there. And I just think the concept of Second Chance is incredible. I think it's great. It left us with probably my favorite cast all around. Yes, they're all returning players. I'm going to judge those on a different level, but like, I don't think there were too many duds or really any duds. Like, on paper, there are no duds in Second Chance. I think that, you have people who are out there playing hard from the get-go. Everyone. It's just, it's like next level Survivor playing. Like, I don't know that we'll ever have a season of Survivor where 20 people are all playing at that level. even the ones that aren't shown playing at that level, you know that they're out there playing that hard. Like, you can't not play hard when America votes you onto the show. I don't know. There are so many great moments, like so many blindsides, so many great idle plays, so many interesting intricacies in the game. You have so many of everyone's favorite people back, playing different or very similar games to the first time. I think you have character growth. I think, Cambodia was also a really difficult place to film and to live. Like, the conditions were harsh, so you get the survival element back in. It's just like, I don't know. I love Cambodia. I think it's amazing, and it is easily my favorite season ever, and I will rewatch it over and over and over and over again.
Okay. It was my number 6. So still high, it's in
Right.
my top tier, obviously. I really like this season. It was not number 1 for me for like a number of reasons. I do enjoy the public vote. I think that was fun. However, I really was like scratching my head on some of the people that the public voted for. Uh, so I was a little disappointed with that. Like, I really didn't want to see Wu or Monica, and I think they were as disappointing as I thought they were going to be. So I would have much rather Shane and T-Bird had been on than them. Just my opinion. But
People have to go
once
home.
I know but I'm looking past it. Uh, I think you have a strong pre-merge. I think you got a strong early merge. I think it slows down a little bit once you get start getting to the end. I think it starts becoming a little obvious that Jeremy's going to win. I got to be honest. I think Joe and Abby getting voted off were a little slow for me. It just felt like cleanup time for Jeremy. He's like tying up his loose ends, and then Kimmy's blowout is good, but then Keith and Kelly go home the next, and you sort of knew that was going to happen,
Yeah.
So I think it slows down a little bit for me at the end, and I was kind of disappointed that. I mean, I'm glad Jeremy won, but I was kind of disappointed that it was so obvious, and Tasha and Spencer were basically goats at the end, So I
Right.
think that was a little. It wasn't as suspenseful as I wanted it to be, but everything else is great. I do think they maybe sort of hit you over the head with some of that voting block stuff. I kind of get tired about hearing about that. Uh, just play Survivor, but you know, um, lots of memorable moments. Lots of great tribal councils that made our top 20 tribal councils. So I can't deny that this isn't a great season. It's just, I'm just trying to say why it wasn't my number 1. But I see all your points, but uh, I couldn't put this above my number 1. I'll leave it at that. Do you have anything else to say, Will?
I mean, not really. I was gonna say I disagree about Spencer and Tasha being goats, but with the jury they were goats, but they didn't play goat games. Neither of them did. Which is why it's so interesting, because neither of them on paper are goats. It's just like the jury did not respond well to either of them at all towards the end of the game, and so it made them goats.
Yeah, they're not goats per se, but you knew neither of them were going to win. So I think it hurts the suspense a little bit for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you don't know that Spencer's not going to win until he starts being rude, like right in that last episode. You know what I mean? Like,
I
Spencer
knew
had a really
Spencer.
good edit up until the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying it slows down a little bit for me because
Yeah.
I'm just sort of waiting around for Jeremy to win, you know. But it's not bad by any means. But I mean, Kelly hangs in there for a while. You really don't know if she's going to make it or not. And I think you're kind of disappointed that she doesn't, because I think a Kelly versus Jeremy in the finals would be amazing. I'm not sure who would win, you know.
I think I think Kelly would pull that one out.
And I would be okay with that. But I think Jeremy and Kelly would be great finalists, that's for sure. Over someone like
who are you gonna say?
Oh, I would like to see. I think it would have been great if Kelly was in the finals over one of Spencer or Tasha.
Yeah, I would have preferred her in there over Tasha, because I think that we had a lot of backstory, we had a lot of evidence for the other three, because Tasha really goes purple once the merge happens, which is weird. But
yeah,
I think Tasha,
she sort of becomes like a blind follower of Jeremy and sort of falls victim to a lot of his. I mean, she's not really in the know as much as she wants to be.
Yeah.
So
it would have been cool to see Jeremy, Kelly, and Spencer duke it out in the final three, though, because all three of them would have like pounded it, like fought hard. Not that Tasha didn't also fight hard, but Tasha didn't have as much to back up what she was saying as the other three.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
All right. You ready to move on to our number 3?
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, probably my favorite modern season. Obviously, Will loves Cambodia just a little bit more, but in my opinion, the best modern season. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. And I'm talking about season 28, Cagayan. Obviously, a legendary cast. A lot of people have come back from this season. I think we counted, and it had the most returning players of any season.
Well, it's tied. It's tied with.
I thought we figured out it had more than Cook Islands.
No, I think they're tied. I think.
Anyway,
you keep explaining. I'm gonna count.
Okay, but it was just, outstanding casting. The brains versus bronze versus beauty sounded kind of dumb, but it actually works really well. I love when things sound dumb, but they work really well. I think that's fun. The pre-merge is great. We got a blindside right off the bat with David and Garrett's elimination. I actually feel like Garrett's elimination is very underrated, because Juchia literally dumps out all of their food and doesn't go home. That's crazy. Only in Cagayan. Bryce is a fun character. Alexis is fun. I'm not really big on Lindsay, but it's who was. But the merge, we talked about it, has my favorite tribal council with Chaos Cass flipping and Sarah going home. LJ's exit is great. Jeffra's exit. Spencer and Tasha are great here. I actually prefer them here, where they're the underdogs, than in Cambodia. That's just me, but I actually prefer them here. Trish is fun, and then, like I said, Cass is a great villain, and Tony's an even greater villain, and also one of the few villainous winners we've had. So, what are your thoughts on Cagayan? I had it exactly where it is. I had it at number 3. So
I had it at number 4. I think it's the best all newbie season of Survivor that's ever happened. But I mean, I agree with everything else you said. I think it's an incredible season. So many twists, so many ups and downs, so many likable people. I was just counting, and we've had 6 people come back from Cagayan, right? Spencer, Tasha, Cass, Wu, Tony, Sarah.
Yes.
Is that it? Okay, 7 people have come back from Australian Outback.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You have Tina, Amber, Jerry, Alicia, Colby, Scoopin, and
Kimmy,
and then Jeff, and then there was somebody else who I counted the first time who I'm forgetting. I did say Amber. Tina, Amber, Jerry, Alicia, Scoopin, Colby, Kimmy, Jeff. Is that
7.
8. So 8 people have come back from Outback.
Okay. Well,
that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
That's half of their cast.
Well, pretty much all of them were on All Stars.
Yeah. Nearly.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on Cagayan?
No, I mean, again, I just think it was incredible. There's not really much to say. I don't think many people can argue this. Like, Cagayan is one of the best seasons of Survivor ever. It's going to be really hard to beat it. And there are so many more people who need to come back from Cagayan. So many more.
Agreed. I mean, I'd be okay with
everyone but Cliff and Lindsay coming back.
Yeah, to be honest. I mean, Cliff wasn't that bad, but Lindsay was annoying.
No. Yeah, Cliff didn't really play the game very well. I mean, and like David, I don't know that David did enough to. Obviously, he was only there for half an episode, but like David could come back.
David and Cliff are like they're wealthy, so Survivor was like a bucket list thing.
Yeah, it's like Andor. We don't really need them, but we could.
They're probably like Jeff Kemp, probably one and done, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, just an outstanding cast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Philippines rescued Survivor, but I think this made people love Survivor again.
Yeah, made people excited.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really let up very much since Cagayan. Like, I think Cagayan was a good springboard for what Survivor has become.
I mean, I wasn't big on the Dirty 30.
Right. I mean, you have the bump that is the Dirty 30.
But I think overall, morale among Survivor fans is high because of this season.
Yeah. All right.
All
right.
Ready
for number 2?
Yeah. You want to talk about our numero dos?
Let's do it. So there are only 2 seasons of Survivor left that we haven't talked about. And I'm sure that these 2 seasons are not a surprise to anyone being up here. So number 2 is going to be Survivor Season 16, Micronesia, Fans versus Favorites. I think this is probably the only time that an evenly mixed cast of returning and new players has ever worked. It obviously still didn't work in the favor of the new players, but in terms of interesting to watch, this was the only time that it's been evenly matched in terms of like there were just as many fans who were interesting to watch as there were favorites. Maybe not true. There are always going to be more favorites than fans who are interesting to watch, but there were a lot of fans who were like genuine threats, not necessarily to win, but in terms of like people who were playing. Obviously,
they contribute to the entertainment value for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because like Jason is likable. He could have won if he had gotten far enough, but like obviously that didn't happen. You have Eric, you have Natalie, even like Alexis is great in terms of being a member of the Black Widow Brigade and throwing her hat in. Like I don't know, it's Micronesia is really enjoyable. You have Parvati being, like a bad A. She's just, you can't argue with the Black Widow Brigade. You just really can't. Like, so many blind sides. And even the pre-merge is interesting. And, I have a hard time watching a lot of the old school pre-merges. But this one is really good. Although I guess this one's more middle school. But
yeah, it's middle school.
It's still really good, though.
I mean, it's the best middle school season for sure.
Yeah, I think earlier I said that China was, but it's definitely this one.
Yeah, China's like second.
Second, yeah, easily.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of seasons with returning players, I question some of the casting decisions, but for here, I have no complaints. I mean,
Mhm.
I really think they were 10 fan favorites, or at least people that were entertaining to watch, you know. I mean, I know Johnny Fairplay is disappointing, but uh, on paper, people wanted to see him again just to see what he would do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know he was going to quit, but still.
Yeah.
You know, Parvati could have gone home first and he could have ran away with it. Who knows? Wouldn't that have been crazy? But you know, I get the criticism of this one, with people saying it's a disadvantage to the fans, but
They hold their own.
The entertainment value is just so high, and
Yeah.
the fans really do play a part in that. I mean, would this season be as memorable without Amanda's idol play and Alexis going home, or Natalie convincing Eric to give up immunity? I mean, to me, those are two huge moments. And the fans sort of contributed to that, you know. So, I, I, I mean, just high entertainment value. I mean, I could sit down and start watching it now, and I'd be pleased. You know, I like most of this cast. I think there's a few fans that are forgettable that go out early, but most of the fans are fairly memorable, I'd say. I mean, even people like Chet and Kathy, I mean, they're memorable because they're so quirky, you know.
Yeah.
And Tracy. I think Tracy is an underrated player.
I agree. I like Tracy a lot.
I think she runs that fans tribe before that switch. So I I'm I would I'd like to see her come back again for sure. But Natalie Bolton, probably the number one requested person who's only ever played once. You know, we want to see her again because she's so entertaining. So, you know, and as for the returning people, like I said, 10 favorites. I like them all. I mean, I love Parvati, I love Amanda, James, Amy, Eliza, Penner, Yao Man, Sari. I love them all, you know. So no complaints from me. Ozzy's Blind Side's great. Can't forget to mention that. And part of it is freaking Eliza's reaction. So she gives us some of the most memorable facial expressions we've ever seen. Any other thoughts on fans versus favorites, Will?
No, not really. Sorry, I just killed a bug on my desk and I'm trying to get rid of it. I was paying attention, I promise.
Well, now we're going to get sued by PETA. No, I'm just kidding.
It was a bug.
I'm just kidding.
I really hope it's dead. I don't see it, so I'm assuming it is. Anyway, no, I mean, again, you can't really argue with the season. It is one of the best seasons of Survivor ever.
Exactly. And Parvati's one of the best winners. So.
Correct. No arguing that either. Sorry, not on the same page.
All right, well, so, I mean, I had it where it lands. I had it at number 2. Where'd you have it?
I had it at number 3.
Okay, so we're mostly... I think my number 1 is your number 2, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think everyone has figured out what our number 1 is. And, you know, this season tops many lists as number 1. Or most definitely in the top 5.
Probably everyone's top 3.
Yeah. and I'll just end the suspense here. I'm talking about season 20, Heroes versus Villains. My number one, Will's number two, but number two is nothing to sneeze at for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, just the ultimate showdown between 20 of the most memorable people for a variety of different reasons, not always for the best.
No.
But 20 of the most memorable people to ever play, mix of old school and at that point new school, but
New
is now
school.
middle school.
Yeah. What are we gonna do when a new era of Survivor starts? Tangent.
Kindergarten.
College. We're gonna move on to college school.
Kindergarten. We'll call old school kindergarten or something. But you know, I mean, I loved everyone. I mean, even if you know, I don't necessarily consider like Sugar a hero, or you know, I mean, I was still glad to see her back. You know, it is what All Stars should have been. You know,
it was an elevation of the game.
Yeah, I mean, All Stars was sort of unsatisfying and disappointing. But this one really hit a home run. I mean, you've got, I mean, every single person is playing their heart out and trying to somehow make it to the end in this juggernaut of a season where literally everyone is a threat in their own right. Some legacies are destroyed, some are built.
Bless.
So, you know, and I feel like there's a lot of personalities going around to where it doesn't just feel like the Russell Hantz show. So that's nice.
They hide him well.
I'm glad he doesn't totally overshadow everyone else like he did in his other seasons. But you know, Sandra winning twice, hey, I'm okay with that. You know, she played her social game where she's under the radar, and ultimately people awarded her for that because they felt like Parvati was just Russell's lapdog, you know, and they didn't like Russell. So, you know, so I'm okay with Sandra winning a second time. Definitely well deserved.
Yes.
I'm happy Jerry Manthey made it as far as she did. I like Jerry. You know, I'm happy to see Candace and who else? I'm happy to see Rupert initially. I mean, I know he's we sort of get Rupert overkill, I think, starting here, but you know, I still like Rupert. It's just, you know,
Courtney.
Yeah, we get Courtney, we get Coach, we get JT and Tyson are sort of the ones that sort of destroy or tarnish their legacies here.
It's my favorite Tyson blindside.
Yeah.
Of the two, I prefer this one.
Boston Rob going out early. I don't think anybody expected that. You know, Sari going home early was unfortunate, but you sort of knew it was going to happen with.
It had to eventually.
I think, you know, I think it's disappointing Tom Westman doesn't make it that far, but he was sort of on the outs. I like Stephanie. I know some people don't, but I think she's fun. Randy, I mean, he's not my favorite, but you can't deny that he's not a villain and entertaining. So, and he doesn't really last that long for it to even really matter. So, just an all-star cast, and I think the ultimate showdown.
Yeah, It was
And
Survivor done right.
yeah, and I think, I mean, even if, like, I know in the merge, some people will say it's basically just a pagonging, but you know what? Every episode there is something going on, though.
Yeah.
There, it's it's not even, it's not telling you, it's not necessarily interesting as in who goes home, but it's trying to tell you the story. It's setting you up for the story of how Russell loses and Sandra wins. And
Mhm.
I think that is where Samoa failed.
Yeah.
It's because they should have been setting us up for how
The
Russell
Natalie
loses
win.
and how Natalie wins.
Yeah.
But they corrected this
Yes.
and they made it into, so I think that in and of itself makes the episode interesting. And I could just watch Sandra play every day, honestly.
Yeah. True. It's a
Uh,
satisfying pagonging, at least.
yeah, I mean, the heroes. I mean, I love the people that were on the heroes tribe, but
Yeah.
I just, you know, you gotta root for the baddies. You just gotta. I mean, how can you not root for Parvati, Sandra, and Jerry? So,
Yeah.
um, but you know, uh, like I said, every episode I am fully entertained.
Mm-hmm.
I fawned over it enough. What do you think, Will?
There's not really anything left to say. You know what I mean? It's just, it speaks for itself. It is Survivor done right. It is rightfully our best season of Survivor ever. You know, I don't think many things can compare to heroes versus villains.
And I'm not sure if anything could top it for me, except for maybe like
Legends.
the final season of the series, like a Legends,
Yeah.
Which some people are speculating Survival will end at 40, and that's going to be Legends. I hope it doesn't end,
They've
but
got to make it to 50.
yeah,
They have to.
maybe we'll see. It still leads in its category on Wednesday nights, but we'll see.
Mhm.
I get the vibe Jeff Probst doesn't want to do it forever, and I think once he leaves, the show will end.
Yeah,
but
it should. It can't go on for forever, as much as we'd like it to.
But I'm not sure anything could top it for me, except maybe a Legends type final season where you just bring the best of the best.
Yeah.
And a lot of people from this cast would be on that season. It might even it could even look like a redo almost.
Yeah, it would. I feel like it would be a mix of people from this cast and from Cambodia.
I feel like a lot of people would be plucked for that, and maybe a handful from more recent seasons.
Yeah.
Once we get to that point.
Yeah. And most of those people would probably come from Game Changers. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Not sure if I'm ready for anyone to come back from Game Changers.
Well, I mean, like when Aubrey.
Yeah, I'd be okay with her. She needs time.
Yeah.
She needs time.
Season 40 is a long way away.
Yeah. Got a couple years down the road. And who knows, it might not even be that. I mean, we all thought season 30 was going to be something special, but
it wasn't.
No.
It was something special, all right.
They did it for 31, which is weird to me, but whatever. And who knows? Maybe we will make it to 50. But I think the final season of the series will be some sort of Legends type season.
And it's going to have to be because they've got to go out with a bang.
Yeah. Maybe Sandra will win a third time.
It's fantastic.
That would be the icing on the cake for me.
I mean, the only thing that would make it better is Richard Hatch coming back and winning the final season.
Wow, that would be an interesting ending.
Or even better, who was voted out first in Borneo? Let's let them come back and win.
Sonia?
First out, last winner.
First off, I think she's like 90 years old. But sure, let's throw her. Let's throw her out in Cambodia. See how she does. We'll have a doctor on standby. All right. Well, any other final thoughts on our number one or this list as a whole? Were you pleased with this list as a whole?
I'm happy with it.
I'm happy with it too. I think we had a good mix of new school and old school in our top tier. So
yeah,
I think we did good. Well, we did.
Yeah. Go team.
All right, everybody. Well, that's gonna do it for part 2 of this season rankings. We had a lot of fun. I'm hoping we'll get a cast announcement soon from season 35 in the coming weeks or so. I think we will take a break next week because I will be moving back to school and will be busy as well with school. But once the cast gets announced, we will obviously give our little assessment of that. But I'm not sure if I don't think it'll be next week, but I think it'll be the week after. So we will take a little break. This will do it for our off-season coverage. But I had fun doing this season rankings. And
thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Tribal Talk. And we will see you once we're out of the off season. Bye-bye, everyone.